Welcome to Conversations with Educators, where we bring educators from across the country to talk about topics like college and career readiness, graduation tracking, teacher growth, assessment coordination, and more. Let's get started. Okay, it is 12:02, and I know everyone is super busy, and these 30-minute webinars go very fast. So I will go ahead and jump in to value everyone's time. First of all, happy June, I don't even know, 4th. We have made it through May. I know that's no easy feat. And I also know no matter where you are, even though we're so excited that we made it through May, everyone still has more testing coming up soon. I know in Texas in June, in Florida in July, other states retesting too in June. So hang in there. Congratulate yourself for making it through what you have so far. And I do hope that everybody is getting some downtime planned soon. So thank you for joining us. This particular Conversations with Educators is really just with me and Craig. So we love so much about TestHound, but do really feel that one of the most valuable parts and probably most people's favorite part are about the reports that we do provide. And so this is just going to be a quick overview of things that we do have, and maybe even just some caveats and reminders as Craig has gone through with districts at the end of spring testing, if there's anything of note to add in that might be of value. But I'll just go ahead and jump to the next slide. Our agenda, we will be obviously introducing ourselves, show and tell some of our favorite reports, and then we'll have some Q&A. And we'll share again for everybody. I did enable the chat. So you should be able to put chat up, and either Craig or I will answer any questions or something else that would be fun, I think, along the way. If there's anything that you find of particular value in what we're showing, and you can say, yes, this is how I use this report for this, and this is why I love it. And also, if we get to the end and maybe we did not highlight your favorite report, again, 30 minutes goes really fast, then you can share in the chat for others maybe what your favorite report is too. So we would love to have your feedback as we go along the way. I feel like most of you know me. My name is Laura. I've been with TestHound now for, I'm just finishing my 8th year. Have had the privilege of working with a lot of you, bringing the system to your districts. And then, of course, the most important person joining us is Craig Dickey, who works in our customer success department and helps support our districts, answer questions, and is basically a guru at all things TestHound. And way more important than me for sure. So we're excited to be with you today, and honestly just want to go ahead and jump into talking about some of our favorite reports and why they're important. And also just jump in and Craig, did you want to say anything before I hop into the first one?
I just wanted to thank everybody for their attendance today and know that being a former district testing coordinator here in Texas, I know the pressure you guys are under. And knowing some of the district coordinators in Florida, y'all are under the same aspect. So just glad that y'all could join us today, and hopefully you'll find this beneficial. And like Laura said, at the end, we'll probably even have some time for you to mention your favorite reports if we didn't mention those, or put those in the chat and we can discuss those as well. So thank you for attending.
Okay, so you might not agree with our order, and I would love to know. That's coming, I think, something fun to conversate. Well, that's not my favorite report. It's my second favorite report, or this is my favorite. But we think that our first and foremost favorite report within TestHound is what we call materials control. I will share that in Florida, this is very specifically named the Administrative Record Security Checklist, which is basically all the same information that you see across the board in other states, but it's very specifically designed to Florida. They even have their own seating chart that both of those reports are DOE approved. But whether it be the materials control report with everything on one page, or the Florida reports where there's just 2 pages that are in conjunction with each other, it's important because it organizes everything that is needed for that test day for that test administrator to be able to provide that information. It becomes your attendance. It is your seating chart. You have the times recording when you start and stop the test. If you still have secure materials, then that is all on the same page. And again, we have all the documentation at the bottom. We know this makes people's lives easier because it becomes that one-stop shop for documentation. Was just visiting with a district this morning, and he was sharing how their district goes through this process now without TestHound, and it's very cumbersome. And some of you might even remember, I like to call it the dark ages, before you could just populate this report for every room in your test. It was many, many, many sheets of paper, and especially a lot of you at the district level, it was probably different people with different ways of reporting things. And this just streamlines the process across every campus in your district, gives them one way to report it. And again, what I will also like to share about our reports at the campus level, you can print them all in one fell swoop once you've organized the test in our system. So this is probably my number one favorite and the one I hear the most feedback about it being great. Craig, would you like to add anything else in on this one?
Laura, it's one of my favorite reports as well, being a district person. Now, I liked it for the organizational part and also the requirement of meeting both your district and your campus documentation list. And what found really nice about the material control form is it did become my one-stop shop. It became my documentation for campus users. It became my documentation for district keeping for the 5 year minimum that we have here in Texas. But what is also nice about that is even though Texas has moved primarily to online testing, remember that those online testing tickets are still secure materials. So if you're old like me and you still do the paper testing, you got used to the answer documents. But now in Texas, this still allows you, as the campus testing coordinator or the district testing coordinator, to account for all those testing tickets both out and in. So it's still very useful for that aspect. And then you have your documentation at the bottom that you can always sign so they know exactly who the test administrator was on that particular day and all materials are accounted for. So I think
And
it's
that
very
goes,
beneficial.
yeah, across the board for all of our states, all of our online states that are managing those test tickets. So thank you for pointing that out. So hopping into number two, again, I think when districts come on board with TestHound, this is probably the second most required report at the district level. Most districts say every campus is going to use this report because it just streamlines so many things when it comes to accommodations. So this is our room accommodations report. And again, why is it important? It allows the user to pull an accommodation report by room for a specific test within a test administration that will show all of the student accommodations that go along with that student for that particular test. Again, thinking back, if any of you can remember how these things were done before you could just click, 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 and then print. With TestHound, it was a very cumbersome process and very lots of hands, I think. Cooks in the kitchen, I like to say, trying to provide information. This is a very easily accessible report for your campus users to be able to then again put in the bucket to verify that each student is getting the accommodations that they require. And the beauty of it too, for me, is it's generated for that coordinator without them having to really manipulate anything. If the student has the accommodation and they are in a particular room for a test, they're going to populate onto this report, which again, how does it make your life easier? You can see them in each room, and also it prevents irregularities at the end of administrators saying that they didn't know or were not informed that the student had these accommodations. So Craig, any thoughts on this one?
Absolutely. If you'll look on this, this was also one of my favorite reports, not only for documentation, but just to ensure that testing irregularities did not happen because nobody has time for testing irregularities and the forms that come with them. What's also nice on here, if your vendor who sends your accommodations has the ability to send notes on your kids, those will print out on here as well on the room accommodations report. But you at the district level or also as the campus level could put custom notes in here as well so that you could further clarify what those accommodations are. Let's say in Texas you have math manipulatives as an accommodation, but as supplemental aid. But you may need to put different types like 100 charts or whatever you need on there. You can come and put that in your custom notes, and then those will stay on that accommodation sheet. So it's just one more way to verify accommodations so that you can avoid those unpleasant testing irregularities and also have a nice form of documentation that everything is copacetic.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's just keep moving on through. And really, report three, our master accommodations report, we kind of, maybe I should have put them in the other order, right? This is before you get to that room accommodations report. Um, this is going to be one report with every student that has accommodations for particular test administration in one place. This report is filterable if you want to look at only a specific special population, if you want to look at only specific grade, or even a specific type of accommodation, you can filter it down. Um, it allows the user to pull an accommodation report for all students in TestHound, again, by these specifics. And really the autopilot, this goes deeper, right, into how our autopilot feature works. Those accommodations are coming straight from the vendor, whether that be a private vendor like Frontline, EastBed, or Success Ed, or whether that be a statewide vendor like in Florida, Peer. Most IEP and 504s in the state are housed in that location. It doesn't matter where they are. We can pull them in. It is easy for your campus coordinator to see changes happen in real time. No more sending the email or updating the Google Doc or passing the spreadsheets off and on. They come straight into TestHound, and then they can print this report to verify those accommodations are correct prior to testing. And to me, that's the biggest key. Instead of I used to say chasing your tail, right? Like continue to circle back and circle back and circle back. Now, before the test administration even happens, you're verifying things are correct. Um, I literally, in my experience, have seen, especially campus folks, almost be brought to tears when they have seen this because it just represents streamlining a very complex and complicated process. So improving communication between all special pops on a campus and everyone speaking the same language and then being able to provide a report that they're not creating is a huge component to TestHound. So, Craig, passing it to you. Anything else that you like to mention about this one?
Sure. On the master accommodations report, one thing I think is very beneficial for it is that very fact that this can be exported once you filter it down to what you would like to Excel and more or less share that, let's say, with the people that are on your campus. Maybe your special ed person, your 504 person, or those people that maybe do your emergent bilingual or LEP population. And there's just one more way you can verify the accommodations beforehand and maybe even set up a kind of a data point or data check before testing to avoid those irregularities or changes in accommodations that may be needed right before testing starts. We all know we do our dead level best to make sure that accommodations are accounted for before state testing, but there always seems to be those last day or two or last minute or last week accommodations that need to be changed. So this is just one more verification piece that can assist you with that.
Awesome. Okay. Moving on to number four, test attributes. And I'm just going to speak to this a little bit. This is specific to Cambium as a state testing vendor and the Tide portal that the majority of states we serve currently, Texas and Florida and Ohio, are all Cambium districts. And so this was the last to me missing piece. Great. I have verified the accommodations are great and they're good on kids. Now, how do I get them into the Tide portal? And that was one of our solutions we provided. I think we're what on your going into year 4 of Cambium. So it's not even really a transition anymore. It's just the way it is. But how to make that process easier. People I speak with, and everybody has their own processes and things they work through this to make it work. But I've heard things as even going into one student at a time and clicking the offs and ons, one student at a time. And that's clearly a time consuming process and also one where it's easy to make mistakes. So we wanted to provide a report. We have the accommodations in TestHound. Why don't we provide a report where you can load all of those tools, the offs and ons, in one fell swoop to the Tide system to where you then don't have to do it manually. Um, and as you can see here, no additional formatting is needed, nor do they have to be entered individually. It just makes it where the district or the campus test coordinator can load them into the Tide portal. So, Craig, passing it to you.
Uh, as a former Texas DTC, wow, during the first year of Cambion transition, this report became a lifesaver for my campuses and my district. Having the ability to map in Test Town and then publish those out to the campuses, those online testing attributes that would be features that could be turned on in Cambium, saved my CTCs so much time because once everything was mapped and they accepted their autopilot alerts and they had the students in the test, so they were getting ready for state administrations, they could generate this report and upload it directly into Cambium to turn on or off those online features. And what's nice about it turning on and off is that we all know that there are changes that come throughout the year, and kids have changes in their accommodations. So as long as those accommodations have been accepted and published alerts in test down, those will turn features on and off. Now, there one caveat to this: at the testing attributes report level, the campus uh, report testing attribute report will turn features on and off. Due to the magnitude, if you run this at the district level, let's say you're the district testing coordinator and you want to run this testing attributes, it will only turn the features on due to the magnitude of information that would be there. So that's just one thing to keep in mind.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to number 5. And again, this is just our our number 5. I can't wait to hear what didn't make the top 5 that you think should have. But it's the non-embedded supports report. So why is this important? It allows non-embedded supports such as the supplemental aids, math manipulatives, etc., to also be marked in Tide. These non-embedded supports are ready and in the appropriate format to load in the Tide portal, saving obviously testing coordinators lots of time. So I will go ahead and pass this one over to Craig with the experience and how he best utilized this and what he has seen, especially through this spring, of how districts have been using it.
Well, this is another kind of Texas Cambium feature report, and we do things different in Texas. All the time, we're changing aspects of how we, or even what we call these. They used to be, they're now called non-embedded supports. They used to be called designated supports. But this is another one of those features that allows you to mass turn on these other non-embedded supports for your students without having to go in and individually mark those at a student level. These might be features such as if you have a student that needed basic transcribing or supplemental aids. All of those kind of features can be turned on by the subject level here once this has been created and save your CTCs a multitude of time by uploading them and those marking for each subject that is on this particular list. So this is a time-saving report, and that is one of the main features of all our reports is to try to save your campus testing coordinators, your district people time so that they don't have to necessarily do the manual aspects of individually doing those.
And that truly is our goal, system wide. The whole reason why we exist and the whole reason why we have people in place that have done the job, like Craig and everyone in our support team that have sat in your shoes, either at the district or campus level, is to make things better for you. That's the goal of Education Advance: is to save you time, streamline processes, help you not make any errors. And we also listen to feedback. We do spend some time over the summer, particularly working on how to, for better lack of a better word, tweak things, improve, enhance, maybe even create something new. And so we do listen to our user groups, and we want to make sure that we're, if there's any other pain points that we can alleviate, we definitely want to help with that. So we're actually doing really great on time. And so it says live Q&A, but really we can just do this through the chat feature. If there's anyone that would like to say something about maybe how you use these reports differently, or maybe even about what your other favorite reports are in TestHound that we did not get to, I'd love for you to put that in the chat. We'll just give you a few minutes to consider that and think about what you want to put in. Or maybe everybody's quiet and eating lunch at the same time that they're watching the webinar, and that's okay too.
Guys, I would love for you to put some things in the chat because we really do want to hear from you.
Craig, well, I mean, I'm sharing my screen, but we can kind of, okay.
I have that. I have a question here on custom notes for room accommodations report. So at the campus level, once you actually accept your autopilot alerts, if you're familiar with the accommodations triangle, you can click on that accommodations triangle. And in there, underneath where all these accommodations start to show and you see the check marks, there is a dialog box up there for notes. And you can go in and type those particular notes into that box, and those will save at the campus level. Now, if we're referring to autopilot notes, those would be done by your district personnel at the district level. Performance summary report for EOCs. That is a wonderful report as well. If
It
in
is.
Texas, if you are tracking EOC progress and those students that still need to retake that, that is a absolutely fantastic report. Laura, I see something in the chat asking about can they get a copy of the
Yeah,
PowerPoint? I'll let
and
that.
I just responded, if anybody else would like a copy of the PowerPoint, if you want to put your email address in the chat, I can make sure I send it out to you. So please let me know. And then Craig, if you can, the test attributes report, explain again about the campus versus district doing this.
The testing attributes report is based on the online accommodations for your particular campus. So the online supports. In Texas, that might be content language supports, that might be text to speech, auto text to speech. But those features at the campus, kids in a room, those features can be turned on or off, okay, at the campus level. Since most districts are so large, if you ran that particular report, which you have the ability at the district level, the testing attributes will only do the on features instead of the on off features due to the magnitude of how that report would, the size it would be and the time it would take to load. But
And I've
very good
seen,
question. Thank you for
yeah,
asking
I'm
that.
seeing all these email addresses coming in. I promise that will be one of my projects this afternoon is sending you this PowerPoint. No problem. Read another report we use at the campus level is a Tide roster. And yes, this is huge. And let's also kind of talk about, just so that you're aware, what is attached to the performance tracker feature versus other things. I want to share, this was just back in the day, I guess 2 or 3 years ago, we felt that all of these Cambium reports were best used through the performance tracker feature because that's how we get your demographic file. That's how we do a lot of different things. And so even though we're talking about accommodations like the attributes, but the Tide roster, which I'm going to go over here in a second, all of those reports are tied to performance tracker. And that is for every grade level. So sometimes people think performance tracker is only for high school EOC tracking. And I want to say, no, no, it is for any time you want to pull attributes 3 through 8, the Tide roster 3 through 8, registration files 3 through 8. So if you happen to be sitting in Texas, okay, and I have to say right now in Texas only, and you don't have performance tracker, reach out to me and I can tell you more about it. But I know we're out of time. I do want to just touch on that Tide roster, when you associate teachers to rooms within the test administrations, you can then generate the tied roster, which will, when you submit that to Cambium, print out the test tickets in order by room instead of in order by alpha. And that is a game changer because I joke now with people, we used to count test booklets and now we have test ticket sorting parties because we have to put them in order and that takes a ton of time. So through Performance Tracker and that tied roster report, they will come out in order. Okay, so I know.
Laura, can I just mention one thing more
Please.
about the
Yeah.
performance tracker? For those of you who do have that or look at that, don't forget also the performance tracker allows you to run a student data request to get historical information on your students using TestHound instead of you having to create that using your SIS system. So that's just another feature as we were talking about performance tracker. And yes, that is for Texas right now.
And Diana, I'm just acknowledging, yes. TestHound over time has evolved. We've added this feature, we've added this feature. Nowadays, it's very few and far between districts that don't use everything we provide because it works together in one big package. It's not really segmented off. And so again, I would love to visit with anyone here that might not still have performance tracker and work with you to try to get that added on to your subscription. Hey, Craig, if I pull a report as a DTC, but only one campus, will it turn off and on?
Not if you run it at the district level. If you run it as a district report. Now, at the district, you could sign into that particular campus. You could go to that particular campus once the students are in there, and you could run it from that campus and it'd be turned on and off. But if you run it from the testing attributes report that is in the reports under the district management side, it will only pull the on. But that's what I would do to make sure that happens.
Thank you. Okay, like I said, these 30 minutes go fast. Let's just wait for a second. Are there any other questions specifically on reports that we can, or more like Craig can answer for you?
It's my pleasure. We got a good group here.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen too. Keep any other questions coming, and we can even hang out for a second if we need to answer any more. I promise everyone that provided your email, that will be one of my projects this afternoon. I will email you this PowerPoint, no problem. And then also you'll have my email. So if other questions come up, or what about this? Truly, my heart and Craig's and our entire team's heart is to help make things easier for you, and we want to answer your questions. And so just don't ever hesitate to ask. Our support team is the same way. Have been noticing some good little pop-ups coming in when I log into TestHound talking about how to help organize your summer testing. If any of your campus coordinators have questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out and we can help you. Craig, I'm going to let you hit up those last two chat questions maybe. And while you're looking at those, let me just at least remind people that we do offer more products. Again, Education Advanced, our goal is to streamline difficult processes for educators. We offer an evaluation tool. I am a former high school counselor, so the Pathways tool is pretty amazing in my opinion. It helps track graduation, and it has some amazing, pretty incredible features that I haven't seen in other places. And so we also have Embark as well, talking about curriculum building. So if you ever want to ask us any questions about our other projects, feel free to reach out too. Craig, do you want to hit up the last two chats?
They were thanks for the
Oh,
presentation. I think we have addressed all the questions
perfect.
within the chat.
Okay, you're welcome. Well, I'm glad this is informative. Sometimes, you don't know what people don't know. And so again, our goal is to get you information and the power in your hands to be able to use TestHound to its fullest. So we'll keep any other questions. We'll stick around for a couple minutes, and thank you all for your time and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for joining us. If you want to learn more about college and career readiness, graduation tracking, teacher growth, assessment coordination, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Until next time.